But that's not the only embarrassing thing Biden did this week. You might remember the Biden cheat sheets now. We've been showing you for years the ones that tell him who he is meeting with. Sit down, stand up, say hello, shake hands. Well, they're back, and the headlines again. Apparently, Joe is now using those cheat sheets at fundraising events. I mean, it's concerning his donors. They're scared to death, and frankly, rightfully so. Fundraisers are not difficult events. You walk into a room, you thank everybody for contributing to your campaign. You talk about the things you want to do as president. Why do you need a cheat sheet for that? This is it. I haven't even looked at this piece of paper right here in front of me. Meanwhile, earlier today, Biden met with governors at the White House and made several bizarre attempts at humor. Take a look at this.
Thank you. If I were smart, I'd leave right now. Folks, thank you very much. Governor Cox, Governor Polis, all the governors for being here. I know you just heard, did Jill already speak, my wife? Well, what the hell am I doing here? Jill enjoys traveling to her states. We're building the nation's first high-speed rail line in California and Nevada. And I want to thank Governor Newsom for his leadership in that. And by the way, I'm not sure how many people leave L.A. can do it in 2 hours to get there, or whether they're going to come back or not to Las Vegas.
And in another really sad moment for Joe this week, well, he tripped again, but he was going up the baby steps to Air Force One because he can no longer use the big boy steps after falling multiple times. Now, the administration reportedly even bought him new sneakers as part of his aide's plan to prevent him from stumbling and falling so much. Well, doesn't actually seem to be working too well for them. Now, Joe is weak, he's frail, he's a cognitive mess. We warned you about this in 2020, and now here we are 4 years later, and it has gotten dramatically worse.
My dad used to say, Joey, a paycheck is about more than, a job is about more than a paycheck. I guess I should clear my mind here a little bit and not say what I'm really thinking. There's some movement. There's been a response from there's been a response from the opposition, but yes, I'm sorry, from Hamas. I think that, as you know, initially, the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate. When we pushed all these programs, I said, I'm going to be a president for everybody, whether you live in a red state or a green state.
All right, here with Reaction Fox News contributors Kellyanne Conway and Ari Fleischer and Charlie Hurt. You know, I actually, in the beginning, Kellyanne, in 2020, I kind of made fun of it. And I talked about Sippy Cup Joe, and he gets warm milky, and a bedtime story, and he falls asleep at 7 p.m. This isn't funny. Putin's watching, Xi's watching, Kim Jong-un is watching, the Iranian mullahs watching, all evil actors on the world stage. And they're not just, watching, they're also acting. It has become a clear and present danger, not only for our country, but for the entire world. Your reaction?
You got it. Sean, there's no question that when we project weakness at the highest echelon of our United States government, bad things happen. And all those strong men you mentioned see it. When Donald Trump was there, Putin wasn't annexing a sovereign nation, Crimea, like he did in 2014 when Biden was vice president. He wasn't invading a sovereign nation, Ukraine, the way they did in 2022 when Biden was in the White House, and so on and so forth. Look, the following people and entities are emboldened because of Joe Biden's weakness: the Taliban, Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas. I think any of the illegal border crossers are also watching and saying the border's porous because the president is not on the job. And the following are just weaker. Taxpayers, bill payers, moms and pops, moms and dads, anyone who eats, anyone who drives a car. I mean, the disasters that have come from a man who simply cannot physically or mentally do the job. And last point, I can't believe how many Democrats who otherwise can be reasonable people, wrong on the issues, but reasonable people, they pretend that we don't know what we see. They wish away the 70% of Americans who say Joe Biden can't do the job and shouldn't do the job. But they know one more thing, that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. Folks, wake up out there, because she's next in line, and then she could run for 2 terms on her own. 12 or 13 more years of Kamala Harris should be enough to scare anyone into voting for Donald Trump.
Ari Fleischer, let me ask you, and maybe follow up on that, but get your analysis of this. This is not funny. This is not a game. This is now, I think, when you add his policies to it, his open borders, we have war in Europe, we have war in the Middle East. These are serious, consequential times, and we need a strong leader, and Joe Biden is not it. How do you analyze the race?
We don't only need a strong leader, we need a sharp leader. And Sean, the biggest mistake he made, you showed that painful series. It's painful to watch it, but the biggest mistake Joe Biden's memory made resulted in the death of Americans. And that's when he said that nobody in the military told him that he had an option to leave a small force behind in Afghanistan, some 2,500 people. He said no one gave him that option, only to be contradicted later by the military, who the General Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who said, indeed, the president was briefed on leaving 2,500 behind. He didn't remember his policy briefings and then withdrew everybody from Afghanistan because he thought he had no options. This is why it's deadly. And the job of the presidency is the hardest job on the planet. Even for a young man, it grinds you down and wears you out. And we now have an old man doing a young man's job. This is the problem with Joe Biden. The flubs, the forgetting of names, it's bad, but it's not of that great a consequence. It's the memory loss. This is the problem when you have a president who can't remember the briefings he's given.
That is a chilling and correct admonition, warning to the country. It really is. Charlie, I'm watching this unfold. We talk about it so often. And I don't know what's going to happen between now and November, but I don't think he's not capable of another term. How the Democrats get rid of him, I don't know. Who would replace him, I can't tell you that either. I would assume that Vice President Harris would be first up. Let's get your take on the overall issue.
Well, to be sure, Sean, he's not going to get any better, considering all of the problems that he has right now mentally in terms of dealing with stuff. But, also the other thing is, when you look back just 3 years ago, the difference between his cognitive state today versus 3 years ago, he has degraded significantly to the point that, so many of the policies that he has embraced or ignored or whatever have wreaked unbelievable, unthinkable havoc on the country, everything from the border to his foreign policy mistakes. The other thing, though, I think that, obviously Democrats are going to try to say that there's no difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and they talk about the nearness in age, even though the nearness, there is no comparison in terms of their mental abilities. When Donald Trump says something like he jumbles up his words and he says, they Navalny'd me or something like that, everybody knows what he's saying. Nobody questions what it is that Donald Trump is talking about. When Joe Biden does it, nobody has any earthly clue what it is that he's talking about. And I don't even think he knows what it is that he's talking about. And when you have that lack of clarity in the world, you wind up empowering the worst people on the planet, whether it's Vladimir Putin or the Taliban or all of these people who are invading our country now to the tunes of hundreds of thousands, even millions of people, and we don't even know who they are, who are invading our country. It's all because of that lack of clarity and that lack of strength that is being shown by Joe Biden.
We ask the question often in presidential election years, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? The answer is no on every front. Can you think of a single successful policy of Joe Biden? The answer is no again. I can't, and I'm trying to be objective here. Anyway, I want to thank all three of you. We appreciate you.